Good evening, everyone. Let me just make sure my mic is on. Yeah, looks like it is. Hope you're all doing well. Excited to get into the charts. Oh, I am on Discord. Um, well, here's Nick's charts. Yeah, community very active, which is awesome to see. Everyone sharing ideas. Pretty cool. But let's hop over to TradingView. There we go. All right. Just confirm in the chat just to make sure you guys can hear me all right and see everything. Looks like someone said hello. Yeah, so we're going to go through and do some altcoin charting here. And I'm going to start from scratch on charts. And my plan is to go very quickly. So I'm not going to be doing, I'll kind of explain what I'm doing, but let's hopefully find some nice levels on a bunch of different charts. Yeah, definitely, would recommend after the live stream, you can always go back and rewatch if there's a specific chart you're interested in and recreating the levels on your own chart if they're of interest to you. Right now, Bitcoin, we just came into a new daily open. We're just above the point of control here. That's an important level to be potentially claiming as support. I am interested in seeing a little higher. I have some longs from the lows. We bounced off the 886 the other day. I'll just pull that here. It was an important level. So anyways, we have some local levels up here that I'm looking for potential shorts, with the major level being up here towards 19,200, which is our major range POC. But let's hop over to here and start working through some altcoin charts. So just leave the chart requests in the chat and we'll get through them. So I see XHV. I don't think I'm familiar with that. Let's see. XHV. It's only on KuCoin. So I typically don't like charting like these really random low cap coins that are only on like one minor exchange. But it's the first request. Let's see what we have here. I'm not familiar with it. I'm just assuming it's a low cap. It's only on. All right. Well, there's not really a whole lot to chart here if this is all the price history. I mean, we're obviously just ranging and consolidating at all-time lows. We've swing failured. I mean, this has been a relatively tight range in comparison. I don't really know anything about the project. But yeah, we've swing failure, grabbed some liquidity of the range lows. Obviously, expecting this range low to act as support. So we did have, let me go to the 1 hour chart here. Maybe do a little bit of local analysis and move on. How big are these wicks? Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty low liquidity random altcoin. All I would say about this is, we're at all-time low, range lows support. If any kind of trade here that would make sense would probably have to look something like this. Let's pull this up here. For those of that don't know, I've just lost the tag here. For those that don't know, this represents your stop loss. This line represents entry. This represents targets. If you're trading this as a range, your invalidation has to be probably the range lows here, wanting to get as close to like that's a 17% stop loss, which is a pretty volatile altcoin. You'd want something as close to this level as possible for an entry, with this kind of as your invalidation. Even entering now is a little suspect, but I guess if you trade it small enough, the risk reward makes sense. So you could keep your risk management intact, but it's probably going to end up being something like 5% of your account size balance would be like the sizing here. Coming down to support, if you're watching this, would be nicer. Not just randomly entering wherever price is, but yeah. All right, let me go to the next coin, Matic. Get some interesting ideas here probably. I'm going to chart it on, let's chart it locally on Bybit here. I might have to start on Binance just for price history because it hasn't been on. I prefer charting on Bybit, but it's not, doesn't have the price history. All right, so this, just as a major horizontal level, you know, this should be marked out. Coming down and sweeping these lows would be a really interesting high time frame long. And it's not that you're necessarily going to get it, but setting an alert here. I have some alerts on my other Matic charts. This isn't a new folder here, but it would be wise to be aware when price is coming down here of swing failure in this key horizontal. But let's look a little more locally. I'm familiar to some degree with Matic's price action here. We did, I just want to see here. There's a couple ways that this could have been drawn. I'm just going to pull this right across. Yeah, I think this probably makes the most sense. I'm going to get rid of these squiggles. Should always be aware of your major fibs here. So Matic is in this ascending channel, and I was very aware that we front ran these lows here, which are coming in right around the 618 retracement, which is a really important fib level. If you're not familiar with fibs, you'll probably see a lot of 618s in this analysis. So first we want to mark out our important levels. So the way that I approach the market is I'm looking for important levels. I'm not trying to guess if price will go up and down. I'm looking for short and long opportunities. So let's just do some of that really quick. So we have two major pivots here. Yeah, this would be, again, a high time frame level of resistance, certainly to look for, especially if it coincides with the channel. We can get a little bit of context of what price has been doing. Could go to the 1 hour chart. Yeah, so I know that price, we came in, we got a really nice bounce off of a local 382 twice. So we saw this 382, which the 382 is the inverse of the 618. I won't go into all the different fib things. I've covered it a lot in other live streams and in educational materials. But basically we had this impulse into the 382. We bounced again. I think this was like a 20% move or 17% or something, 15%. Anyways, then we lost the 382, but then we had the 382 from this pivot. Nice bounce. Came down, swept these lows, front running the golden pocket. Certainly volatile here on Matic. I am just curious. I can get a little bit of context for just price action if I look at these different fib interactions. So we're currently testing the 382 resistance here from this pivot high. It's been washed out once. I just want to get a little bit of context here. You know, for major levels I'd be interested in, I went down that one, on that one down there, and I'd be interested in coming in and sweeping these lows like this, and then longing a reclaim of this level. So this is the key horizontal, waiting for that liquidity to be grabbed, longing, and then your invalidation would be the new low after the reclaim. So that could be interesting for sure. Worth noting, our point of control is right around here. So this is a really important level as well, just on a higher time frame in this range for both holding as support and potentially what you would see, you know, you could get a bit of an impulse off of here. Certainly might make sense, or if you lose it, you would expect that to act as resistance. Yeah, so for a higher time frame on Matic, short ideas up here, long ideas down here, and then obviously if we lose this level, well, if you lose this horizontal support and you don't get that bounce, you'd expect to probably backtest as resistance and carry on lower. In which case, you're cutting your long and you're looking for a lower entry. All right. So we have algo, near, sol. Let's just hop over to this sol chart. So I shared this a while ago, but I was interested in longing sol down in this descending channel, and that was up here. I'd shared the idea, so I did take a small long down into this descending channel. Price action was quite volatile. I have some local analysis done on sol here. It's pretty simple, so I'll just cover it really quickly. We bounced off the 618 perfectly on the hour chart here, and we're forming this descending channel. So I shared this in the members Discord yesterday, just pointing out this really nice channel here, and obviously we got a little bounce, and then I was just pointing out today that we got another nice, 7-8% rejection from this channel. So, as far as sol goes, certainly would be interesting to come down and retest these lows. That could be a local entry idea. It's kind of nice sometimes when you have that low, come down and retest it maybe, and same setup as I went over on Matic. I might be interested in a small long with a swing failure of this low, reclaim it, stop under the new low. That certainly interests me. And with this descending structure here, it's a bit of a local bearish structure, so wouldn't be surprised to see lower. I just want to see, actually, was this the... Yeah, this was the 6182, so just about... So let's just look at how nice and technical this is on sol. You have... Let me clear off these brush marks here. You have this beautiful support 618 interaction forming this descending channel, and then this perfect impulse up into the 618 on the top of the descending channel. So both just two awesome technical levels there. And a retest down here would be interesting. You got to be careful. This is really volatile price action. So, you're talking 5-6% stop losses, maybe 10%. So you got to trade it reasonably, which would mean smaller. Then you might trade something like Bitcoin, where your invalidation is going to be a little closer. But I'd certainly be interested in that level. Otherwise, you have your major levels to the upside for potential shorts. Major local levels, rather. This looks quite intriguing. So there's something called support resistance flips. Maybe we'll look at some of those later, but it's where you have support, it's lost, and then it gets back tested as resistance. And so on a higher time frame, I just want to pull the volume profile over this section of the chart. Yeah, these will be important levels up towards the 786. This isn't pulled perfectly. Probably pull it a little more accurately. Important resistance, but this would be really interesting. Coming back and back testing this level as resistance might offer a nice short entry here. So that's sol. Maybe a long here if you got that. It'd be quite nice to get a little long up into this level, maybe flip short. And this is these are big swings. I mean, this is 125% away. Obviously, sol has been hammered, and we could very well end up ranging down here, coming down, sweeping these lows again. So these are just technical levels. Obviously, I always want to be interested in possibly sweeping this low as well as a potential swing failure long. Near, I have a chart on near here, so I'll just share it. So I'll just go over these quick ideas here. When I long Bitcoin, which was down here, I just pointed out, because I had some near ideas, higher time frame of coming down, sweeping this low, and so I just said, if we get a bounce here on Bitcoin, we might look to form some kind of a descending channel here and maybe get an impulse up into this region. We're working our way up there, but we'd have to get moving to to keep in line with this channel and the 618. So this would be looking for a very similar structure as we got here on Sol. And the way I trade, or the way I analyze the market, I'm looking for, I believe that pretty much all assets move similarly on all time frames. So I'm always looking for similar setups, and it's kind of systemized in that way. But anyways, whether we get this level or not, I'd be interested in shorting it if we do. But my high time frame target for a long on near would be to come down and sweep this low, which would be, let's even look at this on the daily chart here, which would be a major pivot low into this idea of this deeper descending channel, this higher time frame descending channel. I really like these. I call them predictive channels. I've never seen anyone else use them this way, but the way that I've developed using parallel channels is you predict the channel essentially, and you get these really beautiful interactions. It's similar to what we got on Sol on a high time frame, where I predicted a channel forming up here. So I have my trend angle, I have my anchor, and up here before this touch even happened, I've predicted a channel to form, and that was my long idea. So I have a similar idea here on near. I'd like to see some clean interaction with this channel if we can come down and sweep this low, and then reclaiming it would be a long trigger for a nice swing long position on near. But we'll see. We're still, obviously in a downtrend here, so maybe we get I get an opportunity to push up here and short something like this, a sweep of these highs. Be interested in that down to this region, and then long here. So that's my basic analysis on near. Let's see. XRP. Okay, let's go XRP. So when you're charting, you should mark out all your key horizontal levels. Definitely important. I mean, this one is important as well for potential sweep of this low. You can mark them both out. You can duplicate lines. It's usually best actually to label your line. So you use a horizontal ray, and then you just say key horizontal. And the reason you want to do that is because when you start, when you start zooming in to your chart, if you use this horizontal ray, the text will follow on all time frames. So maybe, a week from now, you're in here zooming in and you have these levels marked out and labeled, so you know what they are. And certainly some liquidity grab ideas here. But anyways, let's go through, mark up some fibs here. So perfect bounce off the 886 on XRP, which is nice. We can get rid of these fibs because they've been washed through already. Just wonder if this is a 382 from either of these pivots. Looks like it's definitely going to be one from here. So we're kind of double topping a 382 idea here, but an interesting idea would be to swing failure these highs into this higher time frame, right from the pivot high here. So, there might be a short opportunity here. Let me extend these and drag them over. With pretty decent invalidation, if you could come up and swing failure this high, so we could call this a potential swing failure. I'll extend the levels here on this so we can see what it is. You could come up and sweep this high, and a short position would look like losing that level, invalidation there, and then maybe targeting back into sweeping these lows. You would want to take profits along the way, obviously. Let's go on a higher time frame though on XRP. So this is local price action. Let's just get some broader context. I'm just going to use array here. Snap it to the level with holding control. The array is extended. I'm going to need to zoom into the chart to get it to snap properly. So we have washed through this trend line. Okay, I'm going to just pull a couple levels here. That is not the right tool. Wash through the 886 a little bit. So this is an interesting confluence. We have the high time frame 886 here with the local one. This one pulled very accurately. You should be snapping your levels to the wicks there. And I want to see a volume profile over this. So we have the point of control here. So that was very important support. Here on the daily chart, you have the old range. I'm going to actually get rid of everything else here just so we can see it clearly. You have the old range point of control here. So this is where we consolidated all throughout 2018 up into 2021 before this impulse. And this shows you where the most volume was traded. And so you can see as price came down, we got this beautiful bounce right off the point of control of this old range. So that's very important support of old range. Again, just nice to have your levels marked out. Yeah, coming back down and retesting this point of control, swing failuring these lows would be a very interesting long idea. Maybe wait for those lows to be reclaimed, which would be your key horizontal. These aren't the charts I use, like I have a new folder, so I have some XRP stuff charted already. But you know, the long idea would look something like this, right? For a swing long, reclaiming this level. You could try to trade it more locally here. Of course, sweeping this wick would just change the setup a little bit, where you sweep this low, and then you would long a reclaim. So that would be, say, maybe you come down here and you take these lows, but you don't reclaim them. So you don't have an entry trigger, and you come down and sweep this low and reclaim it, and then your long setup would look a little different, but the same concept of coming down and retesting this range point of control. And maybe you get that swing failure short up into this 382 as a confluence there. Would be interesting. Or as another trade. So you come up, take these highs, get a short down into this level, and then long it back up. So I'd be interested in something like that. Always important to set your alerts around the ideas that you're interested in. I'd set mine right as this low would be taken. Then just come and look at the chart, see where Bitcoin is at. I usually like to have a reference for where Bitcoin is when I'm taking altcoin trades. But yeah, that's interesting to me. All right, I'm just kind of going with ones I see in the chat that I haven't done. It's not 100% first come first serve here, but let's look at Matic. Wait, oh, I already did Matic. ATA. All right. Let's go with okay. I think this wick is important. This is probably clearly an important horizontal level here. Bit of a region. I'm going to be aware of our major fibs. This looks like it's through everything, right? It's through the 886. The 886 was support, and we washed through, we swing failure these lows. This looks very much like a just want to pull this a couple different ways. Again, if you really wanted to get accurate, and you should snap these, extend this right, and then pull it to the level. You can even extend this left here. You can see that interaction there too. This would be quite interesting. Where's this interact? This is in about 8 days. Come down and test this wick into this descending channel for a potential long setup. Yeah, I'd be really interested in that. I'm actually going to just show you really quick how to set alerts for a channel. You can set them on the channel, but I like to have some warnings. So I front run the channel with the ray, and then you can make the ray an alert. That way you get a little bit of a warning as you approach the descending channel. You know, for shorts, definitely want to be aware of your major fibs here, because maybe we don't just break down. This 382 would be interesting. Let's see where the point of control is here. Yeah, it's right here. So this would be a very interesting short idea as well on a higher time frame, where you'd be looking for price to come up. You know, whether this happens or we just do it now and something like this happens, interacting with this descending trend line as you come up into this level. You could actually set an alert on the top of the channel as well. And yeah, and then you're just patient, right? Like you might completely forget about this analysis, and then 2 weeks from now you have an alert go off and you have your ideas plotted. But yeah, coming up and sweeping these highs, that's a liquidity grab idea. And then rejecting would be a nice short trigger. So there's 2 ideas on Cardano that look really good for me. A swing idea to the lows, short idea to the highs, and maybe we continue the downtrend from there. But this looks, you know, I have a premise of Bitcoin bouncing into its point of control. So, you know, maybe we do get a big squeeze out of Cardano. This is technically a swing failure setup as well. So we can look at this on a lower time frame here. So you have this idea of you've come and run this low. Let's get rid of these brush marks. You'd be shocked how many times I come back to these old analysis live streams and like these ideas play out really beautifully. But anyway, so you have this low that you swept, and you technically could be looking for longs off the reclaim of this low with a stop under here. But the only problem is we're kind of we're breaking down these this range, and so yeah, I don't know how interested I'd be in this. I'd be more interested in the higher time frame ideas. And for Discord members, I'll try to remember to share these charts in Discord, just as a reference. All right, Q&T. I hope you guys are finding this interesting and helpful. I know some of you might not be familiar with any of these ideas. And we do have a great, awesome Discord. The website is in the description of this video, where we teach this, well, I guess I teach this style of analysis and share ideas and all that fun stuff. And it's It's an awesome community. All the members are amazing. Everyone's having a good time, growing and learning. You know, let's. So we had such a. This was a nice, not really a channel, but really nice trend line that we got a nice bounce off of. Just kind of see where we rejected. This looks suspect for a 382. Nope, we ran through it. It might just be a 50% fib exactly. Nope. This is the point of control here on Binance. So this is really important support. You know, support isn't, it's important support are places where you might be likely, especially point of controls, to retrace to and retest or get some kind of bounce from. But support is support until it's not. You know, you could get a bounce from it and then you could lose it and test it as resistance. But yeah, so Q and T here. This is an important horizontal level. Let's pull it more like this. Doesn't quite align with the value area low here. This seems rather, so if we want to look at this as a trend line, I'll pull it as an array instead of a channel here. You know, we've potentially lost this trend line and now are testing it as resistance. And I'm curious if this was a, Okay, so let's just look at some long ideas here on Q and T. Because this is a very clear idea, I think. So if we come back down and retest these lows, I might be interested in this 786 bounce, reclaiming this low. So the reason you want these lows to be swept is that's a strong liquidity grab idea. So you stop everybody out and then get everyone bearish, everyone starts shorting, everyone closes their longs, and then you have that rally out of that low. So, you know, let's call this a possible swing failure. And the idea would be to wait for that, again, that sign of strength. You need to trade this small. It's about 10% of reclaiming these lows, and then you have a long trigger potentially for a swing long. But one thing I want to point out is this is one way to trade this. When price comes down here, you might have other ideas that have taken shape, like maybe price has worked its way down here in some sort of descending channel, and you have some more confluences for maybe tighter entries that don't quite exist yet. But maybe you do something like this and you come down and you sweep this low right into this descending channel that doesn't exist yet. And yeah, and then you might take a more aggressive entry based on local price action. Maybe you have a little bit of a range here, a little local swing failure, and then you have a long trigger with a tighter stop. But that doesn't exist yet, right? So we can talk about the levels. Personally, I do like to look at local low time frame market structure when I'm taking my entry. So I'm getting as clean of an entry as possible, but still keeping in mind these higher time frame ideas. Okay. Someone wants me to look at FTT. That is not a surprise. I mean, FTT is delisted on Bybit, which is the exchange I trade on, which I really like. I don't know if it's what exchanges it's still listed on and what it's not. Let's just look at Binance. I mean, obviously, you know, everything we look at here would be local. I don't really know what the fundamental case for longing FTT would be, but the technical case would just be probably this, a swing failure of these lows. And the technical setup would probably look something like this with a 20% stop loss. You could maybe get a little better. I mean, this is the 1 hour chart. It's kind of hard to, you have the back test of this level here. So let's look on a lower time frame, what that looks like. So price was taking, kind of holding this as resistance. We didn't quite test it cleanly. We wicked through it and now potentially reclaiming. You could maybe argue along something like this, right? If you wanted to just really tighten up your stop, and the idea of reclaiming this low, that's a technical setup, swing failure, and maybe you're targeting up into this region. Let's just look how technical this has been. I'm not sure, I haven't really charted FTT. I just want to see what kind of fib interactions we've been getting here. This looks quite like a 618. Nope, not quite. Well, that would be a major idea for a potential short. Obviously very volatile. You got to be very careful trading things like this, you know, where you're moving 20-30% in a single candle here, because if you're not, if you don't know how to size properly and use risk management, you can get wiped out pretty quick. But I mean, you could potentially try a long off of something like that into this level with the idea of sweeping this high into the 618. Certainly would want to get some profits off a position if you did get a rally. Maybe you do get a big impulse, big squeeze, but fundamentally I don't know if that makes any sense for you know, like it's kind of like Sol. Like if a project just completely dies, it's like the fundamentals sort of go out the window when something goes straight to zero. But there also is the point of control of this little range here. So I don't know. It could be something, maybe a short up here. If you really wanted to long it, there is a technical setup here, but yeah, you'd have to see how that plays out. All right, well, let's go link, and then we'll do Shib for Gerard. He's new here. All right, let's go to the 4-hour chart here. Link in a very clear range. This looks a lot like Bitcoin's old range. So the 382 and the point of control are well aligned here. It's going to be important resistance. On the 4-hour, there might be a little, or on a lower time frame here, there might be a little bit of a descending channel idea. This little swing failure would have been a nice long trigger with tight invalidation. Come in, sweep this low, reclaim it long with a wick stop under this wick. Let's just look at some of the local levels here. Just local resistance. Let's see. If we did bounce here. Just getting a rough idea. I'm gonna mark out this POC just so I can make sure I'm seeing it clearly. You know, maybe, oops, on a lower time frame here, around $7, 7.160, maybe you do get some kind of impulse up into this channel idea. Again, this isn't pulled very clean. Into the major range PLC, the 382. That would be maybe a scalp idea. You have these wicks, so you might want to watch for potentially swing failuring it and coming through the level a little bit. But then for a swing idea, well, it'd be very nice to take the range lows and a long trigger off of a swing failure of that low. And I won't go through how to technically trade those because I just did several times. Just want to look onto a chart with more price history here. Yeah, I think, you know, for longs, coming and sweeping these lows is a nice high time frame idea. If we can claim this point of control, well, then things get a little bit more bullish, but yeah, I'd say you might look for scalps there for a short, but it's a range, so you're looking for longs, the range lows, shorts at the range highs are always ideas. Coming and sweeping these highs, maybe get a nice short setup there. All right, SHIB, that's what I said I'd do next. Okay. Well, you never want to fail to mark out your high time frame horizontals. We'll call it a key ho. Two ideas. One would be coming and sweeping this low, reclaiming it could be a long trigger. And then obviously coming and sweeping this low would be very interesting. Can maybe find some confluence with the descending channel. I just want to see. So we did reject from the golden pocket here. So this would have been like an idea, right? You make this low, come up, sweep this high. When you come back below it, you have a short trigger. I'd say there's ideas here where we are having kind of a bit of a bearish reaction here off these range lows, where we've come down and we've lost this level. We did wick back up through it, but back testing it as resistance. I think lower does look likely here. Let's just see what kind of channel ideas might be at play. So this is almost a perfectly clean channel, not quite. I wonder what it looks like on Bybit. I find Bybit's price action can be a little cleaner. But does Bybit only have the... Oops. Not always, but I'm just curious what this looks like on Bybit here for this descending channel. This is kind of interesting to me. So we haven't hit the channel low. So I'd add an alert across the bottom of this channel. We did have a nice clean bounce off the 886. Keep in mind, you know, it's just the same level that we bounced off of on Bitcoin here too. Oops. Yeah, so depending on when this happens, you know, if you range here a little bit and then have that sweep of this low into this channel, that'd be a very interesting idea to me for long. I just like these channels, especially when you have the trend angle and the anchor and the channel actually hasn't been tapped yet. So coming in and sweeping this low into this channel would be really nice. Reclaiming it. And you might just get a scalp off of it, right? Maybe you take profit 1, set your stop to entry, and if we have a big impulse, great. If we do see those lower levels, then you have a profitable trade. All right. Sorry guys, I might skip some of the coins I've never heard of. I will do ETH because people like ETH. It's a nice bounce off that wick. I have analysis on a lot of this stuff already, but I'll redo some of it. I'll just kind of pull some local ideas here. I do not want to be charting on this exchange. I want to be on Bybit. I pull a couple things. I guess I'll mark the keyhole here. This was a little bit of a, I would have preferred this on Bybit where you come in and sweep this low. That's like a little swing failure entry. Let's clean up this channel a little bit. I just want to be aware of these potential channel ideas. I don't think there's really anything that makes much sense ascending wise. See what fib this was. Oh yeah, we washed through the 786 because there's a swing failure idea here. Yeah, I remember this price action a little better now. So yeah, we had this swing failure here. We came back and back tested it, and it actually aligned with the golden pocket quite nicely. So I pointed that out in Discord at the time. So you have this really nice idea of a long off of a retracement into this. So this would be the swing failure, the back test into a key fib as well. A nice little long setup into this little consolidation area. But on a higher time frame, certainly coming down and testing the lows again into this channel would be very interesting. And again, you're just setting your alerts. You're aware of your levels. Let's look just at some upside levels here quickly. We'll keep it local. Well, relatively local. So, you know, ETH has really clean interaction with trend lines often. So another idea here would be, maybe I'll change the color of this just so we know it's an alert. I mean, you guys know. But there's also the idea of, you know, if however we get there, if we hold this swing failure, coming and retesting this trend line into this local golden pocket would be an interesting level as well. Can add a horizontal alert there as well. So that might be a short setup, long setup down into these range lows for swinger positions. All right, I see a couple Aves. similar to ETH there, where we came in swing failure this little wick. It's a deep retracement, might be an 886 as well. Pretty close. Or I think I even pulled this a little too low. Yeah, so we bounced off the 886 as well. So 886 is getting a lot of plays on these deep retracements. You know, in some ways, the 886 is the hardest retracement to trade because it's so deep and it's so close to the low. People get really bearish at it. But in other ways, it's the easiest one because your invalidation is so close. It's just this low, right? But we also had this idea here. We didn't quite swing failure at the low here. We swing failure at these lows. So that could have been kind of an entry trigger. You could have traded this tighter and just said, hey, we've reclaimed these lows. I'm going to long here with a stop under here. But typically you would put your stop under the major low for the 886 unless you have a swing failure idea. You can trade it more locally. I mean, that's a pretty major idea here on AVE. See where the 786 comes in. So AVE rejected perfectly from the 886 here, or almost perfectly. I've kind of made a mess and I can't even really see where I've pulled this fib. Our major 786 comes in there. This would be an interesting level for a short. We definitely need a big impulse here to come up into the 786, sweep these highs into this trend line. Could be interesting. You know, for longs, I talked about those support resistance flips. So it looks like we've gotten... Let me just get rid of all the brush marks really quick. We've gotten some rejections from these this horizontal level. We have another level back here. Yeah, for longs, you definitely would want to be just looking at local price action here. Because I don't like to just enter in, like, if I'm going to trade something, I'd like to be well prepared, right? Where I'm getting those really nice entries. And we've already bounced 17% here. Even this could have been a local swing failure setup where you've created this key level. This even would have been a swing failure trigger. You would have gotten a nice bounce out of it. But you've come down, you've reclaimed a level. A long might have made sense there. So I'd be probably waiting for a bigger rally. Maybe we come up and we take these highs. That could be a local short setup into something like this. So, you know, let's just look here on the 1 hour really quick. I'm going to get rid of a couple things. So let's just imagine some price action, what might look good and make sense. Maybe we do form a little bit of a range here and we come up and we sweep this high, and that could be a swing failure short setup. Maybe your stop is up here, maybe it's above the swing failure high, into a sweep of these lows, because I'm projecting an imaginary golden pocket here that we've formed here in a little range, and that could be like a long setup. So like for me, if I'm looking at something and I want to form some trade ideas, I'm not necessarily just saying like, oh, we got a bounce here, we're up 17%, I should long because I think we're going to go up higher. I'm waiting for clean setups. So I might imagine some ideas I might be interested in. But personally, you know, you could look at for scalp entries for sure. Like there's probably some ideas that came in here. Look for some confluence with Bitcoin. This is pretty messy. But yeah, I'd rather just mark out major ideas and then just be prepared. So I'm happy to just wait for major retracements. If we get an AVE rally, maybe look for some shorts higher. Nothing I'd enter in here. But I wouldn't be surprised to see higher. This is a pretty major bounce so far, so we'll see. Okay, let's look at FTM. And I might wrap it up, keep it about an hour. I've done some of these for like 5 hours long. I think those can be pretty daunting. This is another example of support resistance flips where you have these old lows acting as resistance now. I'm going to need to go to Bybit here. We just don't have the price history on a high time frame on Binance. So obviously sweeping this low is a very interesting idea, right? That liquidity grab. We seem to be driving towards it. If you have followed my analysis for a little bit on FTM, I did at the highs here say that I didn't pull this quite perfectly, but I pointed out this descending trend line and this 382, and I said I had longs and I was taking profits off my longs, and I was interested in looking for shorts as well. But anyways, that being said, this low seems like a likely target. We do have a swing failure here, but we're back testing this level as resistance, as I pointed out. I wouldn't be surprised to see us take this low. Beyond that, I mean, really, I'd just say on a high time frame, if we lose this, probably just expecting the rest of this move to be retraced possibly, but just waiting for some strength to reclaim this level and get some entries off of higher time frame price action, or sorry, local price action with some consolidation. But I'd definitely be interested in sweeping that low and reclaiming it. Something like that. Just being patient. Okay, let me just try to bang out a couple more of these. Doge and BNB. Again, familiar with the price action on both of these. Why am I down here for Doge? Sometimes I just randomly start scrolling through the list without thinking about where I'm at. Doge got a nice bounce off the 786. Probably be aware of this level as well. Could name it the old range POC. So I had pointed out some of these levels the other day in chat. Somebody asked about my Doge idea. So I had said when we were up here, swing failure in these lows into the 618 would have been a nice long setup with tight invalidation. We obviously came back down and retested that level. mean, this is a, can barely see that, 20% bounce. Then a nice another bounce off a retest. So these, you know, when on local price action, when you have these rallies, retracements, just pulling, getting local entries off these local fib retracements can be nice. We can pull some local, you know, maybe there's some scalping ideas, PLC here, range highs. You can see, because my alerts carry over, but my TA does, or the TA doesn't from my other folders. So you can see I have alerts set here already. But coming up and sweeping these highs on Doge would be interesting into the golden pocket. So it's a very similar setup, but in reverse. Just pulling a local fib off of this last pivot high. But it's a reverse of this essentially. So instead of sweeping this low into the golden pocket, you're looking at potentially sweeping this high for a short setup, invalidation, the new high you've made. Entry coming back below this low. But right now we're under the point of control. We need to claim that. It's acting as resistance. Could be a setup I'd be interested in. And then maybe just trading that right back down to this old range point of control. But you need to take profits within the range as well. Because your profit target should never be, you can carry some of the trade, but you need to be taking profits in the range, because at the end of the day, we're in a range and you can't always be expecting for the range to break up or down. But I'd be interested in that setup for sure. Yeah, I think keep it simple here on Doge. Nice local range. You'd also have some confluence here with the back test of these old lows. So certainly an idea there. Maybe we can even look at some channel ideas here, trendline ideas really quickly for confluence. I knew there was a shallow channel idea here, so I was looking at that before. Yeah, so maybe do claim this, get that impulse up into there to make the idea even a little more interesting. It's a bit of a channel idea here as well, a steeper ascending channel. So it would align with the middle of the channel, and maybe you end up with a more bullish scenario. But anyways, trading just the levels themselves. Looking for profits off reactions. And you can take longs and shorts at the same time. I do that all the time. So maybe you get a short here, you get some profits off of it. Maybe you start looking for a local long idea too, for a more bullish scenario. Something like that. And you have a long, you have a short, profits in the middle. Let price go wherever it wants to go, stops to entry. All right, let's look at BNB. So I already know this was a perfectly clean channel idea at the time. So before this price action happened, I had this channel on my chart. And you have your trend angle at the lows here. And then you came up and you wicked into this channel. You took the lows here. So I think we took this channel low, and if I remember, this is the golden pocket. Yeah. So we broke down the channel, but we came into the golden pocket, which is actually the opposite of what Matic did. Actually, I'll just go here because I charted that. So you can see Matic kind of held up its channel and didn't come into the golden pocket, whereas BNB, which I would still like to see it come down there, but BNB came down into the golden pocket and broke its ascending structure here on the daily channel or daily chart. All right, so you know, obviously this would have been a beautiful long right into the golden pocket. On a lower time frame, we have a swing failure set up here. You get that nice reaction, great impulse. Locally, did we hit this at 886? So you could look for, you know, So if you want to link up some high time frame and low time frame ideas, maybe there's a long opportunity off the local 886, which would also align with this higher time frame 618. I'll extend that so we can see it. I'll put the prices on here, 265.80. So this could be, we sweep this low into the 886, reclaim it. That could be a long trigger with a tight invalidation there. This low might make a little more sense as invalidation. Trade it back up into this idea. So this would just be, yeah, linking up low time frame and high time frame fibs, looking for that overlap. We're obviously in a range here. You have this liquidity grab idea. You could wait for a sign of strength of reclaiming these lows. That might be a nice local entry. But one thing to keep in mind is we're breaking down this ascending kind of structure here, and we could see lower. So let's look at some lower ideas if we break down. I mean, you can just, so like from a structural perspective, you can see if you hold this, it's a little more bullish. Maybe you come back up and you retest something like this level as resistance. But if we lose these lows, the structure gets a little wonky here. And I would maybe look towards this 886, sweeping this low. That could be a higher time frame setup for a swing. Obviously, then you have this low as well as a potential idea. Because sometimes what will happen is you'll get a nice reaction. You'll get a TP1, stop to entry, and then price will carry down lower. And you got a winning trade. It wasn't a swing trade, and you just look for a new position. That's what I end up doing a lot of times. But yeah, I think BNB, that's pretty straightforward. Thoughts on CHZ chart? Okay, that's CHZ will be my last one, and I have ideas here already because I made a video about CHZ today in the Discord. So CHZ also had some channel ideas here for a while. Some major fib interactions here. Nice swing failure. But I would say for potential CHZ short, this is a level I'm watching, would be to come up and sweep the highs into this golden pocket. That would be a swing failure this high, come back below, and you have a stop above the new high. Would be a potential short I'd be interested in. With targets, we washed through this level pretty aggressively. You know, it's interesting because I shorted CHZ up here, and you know, we front ran the golden pocket at first, and then we came down and tapped it, and we've swept these lows again. But I think you have to play this as a bit of a range. So even if you get a rejection here, you definitely would want to be taking some local TPs, maybe come back up and retest this level. But I wouldn't be surprised necessarily to see CHZ come down and retest some of these fibs. And then maybe you have a confluence here with this old point of control. So the 886, old point of control, that'd be a high time frame level I'd be interested in for a long. And you can always, just because I have these high time frame levels I'm interested in doesn't mean that I'm not going to chart some more local ideas and trade them as price action progresses. But it's always important to be aware of your high time frame levels, because that's where you can get into some awesome positions, right? You were prepared for the high time frame stuff well before it came. This actually looks very suspect as a perfect trend line. I think I might have even had that charted. You can see this was a very nice bounce off this descending trend line here. But yeah, I'd be interested in a possible short on CHZ. I have an alert set here. I think it must be on the other pairing. Yeah. So I have an alert for when this high gets taken. I have it charted on this Bybit pair on my other TradingView folder. So I'd be interested in that potentially. All right, well, hey, I hope you guys appreciated this live stream. Got some value out of it. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I wanted to do one and go over some charts. I know people are interested in planning out some ideas. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you all have a